Team USA, congratulations. 2-0 in group play. We're going to talk a little bit about that action, but more importantly, this is a Warriors show, and Joe Lacob, the owner, a man that I support. I think he's one of the best sports owners in all professional sports. He had a lot to say recently in an interview, and we're going to play some sound. If you're listening to the podcast, this will be an especially awesome show, I think, for you, because this will be an audio-based program, given Joe was on a podcast. We're going to talk about Team USA. I'm also going to share, just for a brief moment, some thoughts on my former program, the one I left to start Golden Days. No regrets, but I have a few thoughts I just want to share before we get into all the Warriors talk. For now, I know I've said it before. I won't say it again, I hope. Bill O'Reilly, bid adieu. This is likely I would hope this is the last time we hear from Bill in our show open. Let's do this. It's the Golden Days!
That is it for us today, and we will leave you with I can't do it. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! And things suck! Woo! Let's go!
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. Cause I get what I want and I like what I see.
Steph Curry on an off game. Man out of fire. Lighting it up. It's Wednesday. Talk a lot. Yo. Thank you for joining the Golden Days. Jaleel Lindsay, what is up? Right back to you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to the Golden Days. It's a program part of the Believe Network. We're on YouTube. We're on all podcast platforms. My name is Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads, on Instagram at DogWild, and then over on that other cesspool of an excuse for a social media platform, you can follow me there at Surf Journalist. Today's episode, as with all episodes, are brought to you by BetOnline. It's the world's most trusted betting platform. That's a fact. And your number one source for everything online sports betting. If you can hear my dog, even he's excited about BetOnline. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. And when the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slot games they provide. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. BetOnline, the game starts here. Before we get into all the basketball talk, and again, hello to everyone. Paul Nored in the chat saying the Warriors need to trade for Jeremy Grant of the Portland Trailblazers. They need to trade for somebody. We're going to get into all that and a lot more in detail. Taylor Schleps in the chat, quickly writing, I'm guessing it's a he, feels like I'm one of the few who actually likes our roster and the depth we have. Plus, I'm thinking Kuminga, Trace Jackson-Davis, and Podziemski all make huge strides, and we legit are a contender. Call me a homer. I know. No, I don't think that's a homer comment at all. We'll get into that and so much more with details. And again, the Lauri Markkanen thing is not dead. In case you're thinking that's the case, in case you're in your mind, you're thinking, okay, it's time to move on. Do not think that way, okay? I'm not giving up on the Lauri Markkanen trade. It's just one of those things where sometimes you got to be patient. Bad Brotherton is really stoked about the heat wave being finally over. Yeah, at least here in Northern California. If you're in the audience from other parts of the country or the world and you're still mired in disgusting heat, I sincerely apologize for you. But yeah, at least here in Northern California, the heat wave has subsided. And Bailey Bauer, what is up? I want to quickly just touch on this. Again, I know it has nothing to do with the Warriors. It has nothing to do with the NBA or the Olympics. And we're going to cover all that stuff today. But for 3 years, I'm guessing a lot of you watching this program maybe some of you are familiar with me from way back when in my KNBR days, or maybe you randomly listened to me back when Yahoo Sports Radio was a thing. Maybe you kept up with me from my days in San Diego, which means a whale's vagina. Not really. When I was working at a radio station there that's now defunct, the Mighty 1090. I know they've tried to revitalize that radio station in some regards, even though radio as a whole is a dead medium. And side note, the Mighty 1090, which was broadcasting on the same transmitter as Wolfman Jack, the legendary DJ, the transmitter coming out of Tijuana, 100,000 watts. That's a true flamethrower of a radio transmitter. Anyways, if you know me from there, if you know me from all the places I've been a writer at, whether it's the San Francisco Chronicle, whether it's Huffington Post, before they became a radical left-wing publication, or the USA Today, where I was at for almost 10 years. Or maybe you're familiar with me from Locked On Warriors. That's a program I was hosting for nearly 3 years before I decided to resign and start this venture with Believe, which in my opinion is a night and day better network. But a huge reason why I left voluntarily, just friendly reminder in case for the few people out there who still like to peddle utter bullshit by saying that I was forced out. No, I voluntarily resigned and left. But a huge reason why I left that place is because they forced me to pay my co-host out of my own money. So when I brought my former co-host, Kylan Mills, in, and that was my choice. Like, she was a TV reporter over at Cron, local TV station here in the San Francisco Bay Area. She was a sports reporter there on TV, and I'd bring her on as a guest. We had great chemistry, and I recruited her. I'm like, dude, I don't have to have a partner in this venture. Like, they never forced me to bring on a co-host, but I thought we could make something special. And so I recruited her. I brought her in, and the original deal was from the Locked On bosses was, okay, you can bring her in, but we're not paying her out of her own pocket. And Locked On never paid me out of their own pocket either, but I would get a good chunk of the advertising revenue. And so the entire business model for hosts there is based on how many clicks and views and stuff you get. And so they forced me to give Kylan 20% of my earnings. And I thought to myself, that's fine, whatever. It's an investment. We'll experience growth. Her and I have great chemistry. Well, a month, 2 months after she comes on with me, she leaves Cron and she fades away from covering the Warriors. Like, she was at practices, she was doing interviews. Like a part of the reason I brought her on was she brought value as a Warriors insider. Like, she was literally regularly covering the team. She quits Cron. I still supported her for all her other ventures, whether it was as a broadcaster with the Pac-12 network, which is now extinct. All the other ventures she was doing, I had her back. But what I did not support was her mailing it in and me still having to pay 20% of the revenue to someone that just stopped showing up. That would sometimes be MIA for months at a time. And that's where the conflict arose. And I told the network, I'm like, look, I don't want my earnings going to someone else who's not carrying their share of the weight. And just a side note, I also offered Kylan a 50-50 split to be a full-time partner with me, but she did not see the value in being a broadcaster with Locked On. She didn't think the money was good, and she thought other ventures were more worth her time, and more power to her. That's her right. But where it became an issue was me giving my own hard-earned money to someone else who I did not feel was carrying their weight. Anyways, that's why I ultimately left, is because she insisted on staying. The network refused to just push her out. And so I said, fine, then I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to start my own thing. But the reason why I'm talking about all this right now is I don't know if this is true, but I've heard people have been telling me that she's no longer with that show, that a month and change after I bailed and she got to get the show all to herself. Good for you. Supposedly she bailed. So to Locked On and to the incompetent, inept management there who has no vision, who has very little intelligence, they're just a bunch of schmucks. If I could write a whole book on just the utter incompetency that goes on with that network, I could list you a million different examples on just how moronic they are. But the point is, now they don't even have hosts. I don't know who's hosting the thing now, but the point is, that's why I left. And it took all of a month and change for the reason for me leaving to then leave herself. So bravo, Locked On. Great job on your part. And meanwhile, we're doing much better things here. But just a little insight into why I left that place to begin with. And just the fact that the reason for me leaving decided to leave barely a month later. Yay. Awesome. So whatever. I'm done talking about that. Now let's continue on with Golden Days. And let's start with Team USA. Oh, is that Bailey? Okay, I see. So Bailey is saying that her husband is apparently still hosting the show now. Okay, well then maybe she's still part of it. But yay, nepotism then. Awesome. Yeah, great. A husband and wife broadcast team, because that's totally normal and fair to anyone else who wants to be a host. Okay, I digress. Let's go back to Team USA. And I actually like her husband, by the way. He's a really good dude. Team USA came out today against South Sudan and kicked ass. 103-86 was the final score. A couple takeaways from this game. First and foremost, Wenyen Gabriel of South Sudan, I thought he stopped playing in the NBA because of how old he is, that maybe he kind of like, had a good run, but he just, old players eventually get phased out. What I didn't realize is that Wenyen Gabriel is only 26, 27 years old. Dude, Golden State, take a look at this guy. Wenyen Gabriel is easily the best player on South Sudan. And I know he didn't have a great game today statistically. Like, he only scored 2 points. He did grab 10 rebounds, but this Wenyen Gabriel is a dude who could play. I'm actually very surprised that he's not in the NBA right now. I thought the main reason was he became an old player and just kind of got phased out, because veteran minimums are a lot higher when veterans play. And I need to put the link in the chat, by the way, just to let people know how to join me if they want to. Let me do that real fast. So if you want to join me on the show today at any point, the link is in the chat. Please do jump in. What I'm going to be doing mostly before I move on from the Team USA conversation is play a lot of sound bites today of Joe Lacob, the Golden State Warriors owner, because he said some interesting things. Some of what he said was revealing. That's why interviews take place. So we can hopefully get some nuggets and information from subjects so that they're not controlling the narrative. And Joe Lacob, again, we're going to play a lot of sound from his appearance on Tim Kawakami's podcast, The TK Show, because, again, there were a few things in there that were fascinating to me, and I hope they're fascinating to you as well. But going back to Team USA, a little surprised again that Wenyen Gabriel is not in the NBA right now. I think the dude can absolutely still play. He brings size, he brings athleticism, he can rebound, he can defend. I don't know if you're going to bring him in for scoring. Again, he scored a whopping 2 points today, but then again, our boy Stephen Curry, and it's okay. He had an off game. It happens to the best of us. Stephen Curry had 3 points today in 21 minutes of action. He also had 4 assists, which is cool. He only had 1 turnover, which is also good. But shooting wise, it just was not there today. 0 for 6 from beyond the arc. Part of that was South Sudan's defense, which was exemplary. But Team USA was just so much better. Jason Tatum started. This was, I imagine, a reactionary move on Steve Kerr's part following the brief blowback that he got for not playing Jason Tatum in the last game, getting a full-on DNP. Derek White is playing awesome basketball. The leading scorer for today's game, first of all, is Bam Adebayo, who, and this is a player who 3 years ago, I started begging the Warriors. And look, some players are just impossible to get, but Bam Adebayo, in my opinion, would be perfect on the Golden State Warriors. He would have been the exemplary, the prototype successor to Draymond Green. But if you're Miami, why the hell would you ever give him up? He led all scorers today for Team USA. He had 18 points in this game. His plus minus, he was a plus 22, which actually did not lead the way. Kevin Durant had a plus 26 to lead everyone on Team USA, and I'm guessing the entire game in terms of net rating. But Bam Adebayo led all scorers with 18 points, added 7 rebounds. The dude's an athletic freak. He was hitting floaters. He was slamming balls. He was fantastic on both sides of the court. Bam Adebayo can play, man. I mean, I know Miami Heat, most of the love, the adoration goes to Jimmy Butler, but Bam, bravo. You did a hell of a job. Now, other highlights from this game in terms of who stuck out. LeBron James had another fantastic game, even though he was a -7 in net rating in 20 minutes of play. He finished with 12 points, grabbed 7 boards. But besides Bam Adebayo, in terms of standouts, Kevin Durant was second on the team in scoring today. It's incredible. I don't think there's even a debate about this, that Kevin Durant, who's the all-time leading scorer in the Olympics, is the best international player in the history of basketball. This is his 4th Olympics. He's gotten gold every time. He's almost certainly going to get gold this time. Team USA is it's just the difference between them and the next best team, whether that's Serbia, whether that's France, whether that's Germany. It's so cavernous that it's ridiculous. Like, if Team USA does not get gold, that would be a massive upset. It would be the equivalent of 1980 when Team USA shocked the world by taking out the Russians, and then they played, I think, Sweden in the gold medal game. People always forget that part of it, that when Team USA beat Russia in 1980, I think that was like the second to last game. Team USA still had to win one more after that to actually get gold. My point is, this version of Team USA are the Russians from 1980. And if Team USA loses, it will be that much of an upset. They're just that good. This is such a stacked team. When we talk about the all-time great Olympic teams, the 92 Dream Team is routinely listed as number 1. The 96 version is probably listed as number 2. But this squad has to be in that discussion among at least the top 3 all-time great teams, if not even rivaling the 92 Dream Team. I mean, I get in my humble opinion, if the 92 team and this team played, 92 wins. But for the folks who think this version of Team USA might be the best version of all time, and they point to 92 in terms of the competition, in terms of who USA basketball had to play, yeah, there's a stark difference there. The competition in 92 was virtually non-existent. The competition in 2024 is impressive. All these teams have phenomenal NBA players on them. But regardless, Team USA they're just so damn good. Kevin Durant, the best international player ever, finished today with 14 points, led all players in net rating with a +26. Other leading scorers in this game, Anthony Edwards, I thought was fantastic. There was one particular play where he was playing full court defense, where the effort was absolutely there, and he got a steal guarding the South Sudan's point guard. I forgot who that was. But he got the steal literally right off the inbound. And then it was like a 3-on-1 or a 3-on-2 at that point. I think Adebayo got the bucket eventually. But Anthony Edwards, he was hustling. 13 points, 3rd on the team. He was a +18 in net rating, tied for 3rd on the team. Other stats for Anthony Edwards: 2 of 5 from beyond the arc, 4 of 9 from the field. Added a rebound and 2 assists, but he played fantastic basketball. He also had 3 steals. Kevin Durant also had 3 steals. Derek White also had 3 steals. Derek White, man, the Celtics. I mean, talk about having 4 phenomenal players as you start your pursuit of defending your title. My Lord, Derek White today played 17 minutes at 10 points, was a +18 in net rating, tied with Anthony Edwards for 3rd on the team in that category. And then the only other player the 2 other players that had a profound impact in terms of net rating. There was only 5 or 6 of them. The rest of the members of Team USA struggled a bit. And that was Devin Booker, who also had a great game. He also scored in double digits. He had 10 points, added 6 assists in this game. He's definitely picked up some point guard skills from his role with the Phoenix Suns. And then he was a +9 in net rating. And really the only other player that had a solid day in terms of net rating was Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday was a +9 as well. And again, his effort was much more profound on the defensive side of the ball. Drew Holiday is just another fantastic player. This team is so stacked. And it's absolutely wild that the Celtics have 3 Olympians on the roster. And Jaylen Brown, who is not on the Olympic roster, should be on the roster. So the Celtics are set next year, dude. I'm very interested to see how how they perform versus the Knicks, how they perform versus the field. I mean, I'm envious, Leprechauns. Good for you. Jason Tatum, by the way, who again was DNP the last game, had a so-so outing in 17 minutes of play. He had 4 points in this game, was a -4 in net rating. The net rating thing in these games sometimes tells stories, because when you're seeing the substitution and substitution patterns, sometimes you're seeing whole units come out, like lineups replaced, kind of like a hockey substitution. And so you're seeing net ratings for groups reflect that. Like Stephen Curry, for example, was a -2. LeBron James was a -7. Tyrese Halliburton got some minutes today. He played 7 minutes, scored 6 points, and he was just a +1 in net rating. Jason Tatum was a -4. Anthony Davis, who until this game was quite possibly Team USA's best big, he was a -5. He finished the game with 8 points, had 7 rebounds. Some of it is the opponents. Some of it is we're all human beings. And, some days we show up and we excel, and some days we just have off days. It is what it is in that regard. So one last point about Team USA before we get to the chat to see if there's any comments there I should be addressing is Joel Embiid got a DNP. And that's a rational decision. I'm glad Steve Kerr did that. Joel Embiid has been quite possibly the worst member of Team USA up until this point. Joel Embiid clearly does not take his conditioning as seriously as he should, because the dude is out of shape. It's ridiculous. I mean, you're in this privileged position in life and you're not in shape for the Olympics. What is going on, man? Hit the gym. You have the rest of your life to be lazy and do whatever the hell you want. And I'm not saying Joel Embiid is lazy, but he clearly is not working out 365 like I think he should. So he got a DNP today, and rightfully so. And so that is your summary of a game there were moments where South Sudan made it close, but it was Team USA start to finish. 103-86, the final. Douglas Mike's in the chat saying KD is still a killer. Absolutely so, man. He had a fantastic game. Dr. J30 with an interesting take. And I actually was thinking the same thing. She writes, I'd rather Kerr not play Curry if he's not doing well. 100% with you. There was one play where for a split second, I thought Steph got hurt. And I'm just thinking to myself going, what the hell, man? I mean, look, it's his first Olympics. All he needs is gold to get the EGOT of basketball in terms of every major accomplishment and award. But I don't want him getting hurt in international play. Han Solo Dolo with an interesting take, saying that Steph is not going to be able to carry this team this season, and it's over for these guys. And whether or not that's true, Stephen Curry having an off game, I don't want to go that far and say he's cooked. But a huge reason for the philosophy of the Warriors and the way they're constructing this team is undoubtedly looking at Stephen Curry as a 36-year-old who's going to turn 37 this year on March 14th. When I say this year, this basketball year, which is going to start in September, October, and conclude in April. If Stephen Curry gets hurt, you have to think about what's next, about what you do with a plan B, because to expect Stephen Curry to play 82 games, that is unrealistic. And so that's a huge reason why when we talk about Lauri Markkanen and we talk about all these other free agents out there, you have some folks who are clamoring for the team to give up on pieces like Podziemski and Kuminga to get a Lauri Markkanen. What if Steph gets hurt and suddenly you don't have Kuminga and Podziemski in your team, and you don't have these youngsters that you can at least look to in terms of something in the future to aspire for, to have hope for? So if you give up the youngsters for Lauri Markkanen, and if anything happens to Stephen Curry, and it's safe to say he's not going to be playing 82 games this year, we're probably going to see his minutes go down a little bit this year, as we should for a man who's 36 turning 37. The depth part is important in all this. And the hopeful part as a fan base is important in all this, because if you don't have young pieces that you're hopeful for, that you're looking forward to, what's left? So no doubt that's going into the thought process in all this. Billy Tran saying, please don't compare this team to 92. I agree with you. I do think the 92 team is the best ever, but there are some who are making that comparison. And my whole point is I think they have a small but valid point in the sense that the competition was asinine in 92. I think Tony Kukoc was the best international player competing in those Olympics. And Kukoc was like the 5th best player on the Bulls during the second half of their dynasty. So, Dr. J30 saying you think Carmelo Anthony has the most Olympic medals. Durant has 3 goals. If someone can confirm me on that, let me know, please. Otherwise, Curtis Aldretti, going back to what I was talking about at the beginning. I like it. Drop the co-host. I tried, man, but now I'm here. Billy Tran also adding, let's just hope Kuminga shines the way he should this year. And absolutely right, dude. I have tremendous optimism for Kuminga, for Brandin Podziemski. If you follow me over on Threads, I've been posting a lot of Kuminga highlight videos for what he's doing this summer. A huge reason for that is he's not just working on his athleticism and his dunks and just shooting. Like, he's working on dribbling. He's working on defense. The latest clip I posted is him mastering the Euro step and driving to the paint and finishing with the left. The kid, I really think he's going to be special. And I also think I have high hopes for Brandin Podziemski. And that leads to Joe Lacob, who was recently on the TK show. And he said a lot of interesting things. I want to start off. The first thing I want to share. Let's see if this works. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I have some technical issues for the moment. So the first comment that I want to start with, and I don't understand why this is not playing, is there we go. Okay. The first clip is Joe Lacob talking about Stephen Curry's recent comments to Mark Spears, who I'm hoping to have on the show after the Olympics. He's over in Paris right now. Mark Spears interviewed Stephen Curry. And in that interview, he asked Steph, are you going to be okay if this Warriors team turns into the version of the Mavericks in Dirk Nowitzki's final years? The version of the Lakers in Kobe Bryant's final years? In other words, are you okay with being a marketing gimmick on a rebuilding team that has no chance? And Stephen Curry said, no, I'm not okay with that. But in the same context, he said he envisions himself finishing with the Warriors. And, but he also wants the Warriors to field a competitive team. He doesn't want to be out there miserable, losing night after night. And so that question was brought up with Joe Lacob. And let's hear what Joe Lacob had to say about Stephen Curry, saying if he wants to finish his career with the Golden State Warriors, they better field a competitive team. Here is Joe Lacob, the owner.
Was exactly what he said was exactly what you'd expect, I think, which is, I want to win. And if we were a really bad team, I guess he would rethink, whether he really wanted to finish his career here. But he didn't expect that's not the case, and he didn't expect that to be the case. And certainly from many conversations I've had with Steph, and I'm pretty close to Steph. We talk a lot. I think we have a great relationship. I think he's very comfortable with the path of the franchise and how hard we do try to put a great, as good a product on the court as we can. All he said was,
okay, so and again, nothing revealing or necessarily enlightening said there, but if anything, what I took from that, and as a positive, is that Steph and Joe Lacob communicate. They're close, and I envision Joe Lacob keeping Steph in the loop for a lot of these decisions. So, but yeah, just the fact that Joe Lacob's aware of needing to field a competitive team. And this is where I love Joe for all his flaws, and he's got a lot of them. He's arrogant. He's far from being a perfect human being. He fosters a culture of nepotism as evident by his son being an assistant GM. But I look at Joe from the context of all sports owners, and there's a lot of lousy ones out there, and there's a lot of them who don't want to spend the money, who don't care that much about winning. And the fact that the Warriors have an owner who gives a shit about this stuff, it's huge. It's huge. And so him and Steph communicate. That's what I took out of that, is that they are on the same page, at least when it comes to the communication level. Now, Joe Lacob was asked on the TK show to elaborate on the decision by Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry's splash brother, to move on from the Warriors. And Joe Lacob provided some insights here in the sense of how this whole process went down. So why don't we hear from Joe again in terms of the process that led to Klay Thompson leaving. Here is Joe Lacob.
I don't want to go through this in great detail because it doesn't solve anything at this point. It doesn't do anything. It is what it is. But, we made an offer to him. It's well chronicled in the fall, substantially higher than what he ultimately did wind up signing for. So I thought it was very fair, if not more than fair at the time. We're trying to anticipate what the market is for him. We're trying to be really fair to him and recognize him for who he is. And so we did that. And, that was not acceptable to them. That's their choice. At that point, we're sort of have to go to free agency, we told them, get closer to that day and see how the team forming, see how we do this year and see how the team forming process was going. And we were doing that. But, to be frank and honest, Klay made the decision prior to the beginning free agency that and he informed us of it, that his intention was to not come back. Now, we can all surmise as to why that is. He has stated, I can only take him at his word. He called me and said the same things you heard. Klay he's an open book. He felt he needed, for a variety of reasons, to have a fresh start. He put a lot of pressure on himself to be the player he always, was in the past, and perhaps he didn't feel like he was living up to that, or he felt the pressure of the situation. I don't know. I just don't know. You'd have to ask him. But he made the decision he wanted to move on, which surprised us a little bit, to be frank. But I'm a believer that these guys earn their stripes. They earn the ability to be free agents if they want. They put in the time. It's their life. What makes them happy. I would love if Klay had been a Warrior for life. And under a fair and equitable basis, we wanted to try to achieve that very badly. We did achieve it with Draymond, a different situation. Steph's under contract, so we felt we were on path to do that. It just didn't work out, and there's no sense rehashing who offered what, when, and all that. We all know the basics of the situation, and I think he's happy for now with his choice, and we had to move on and accept that.
And if there's anything that I took from that, which I thought was kind of interesting, it's one, that Joe Lacob was a little surprised that Klay Thompson left and that Klay Thompson made the decision on his own. And he decided it before free agency even started. In the Ramona Shelburne story, she published for ESPN soon after Klay left. She mentioned that Joe and Klay had a golf outing, and but that the golf experience the discussions did not veer into Klay coming back to the Warriors. And who knows if that conversation took place during that golf outing, if it took place before that, who knows? But in Joe's mind, at least from that clip, he thought Klay was coming back. Klay made the decision to move on. And according to multiple sources, Klay just wanted a fresh start. He wanted an environment that could bring a championship, which is why he supposedly turned down the Lakers, because to him, the Lakers represented an environment very similar to the Warriors. And he chose the Mavericks. And there's that. So there was one other comment that Joe made pertaining to Klay Thompson. And this was in regard to the actual dollar amounts and the negotiation process. I thought it was kind of interesting. And, oh man, I'm having technical issues again here. Let's see if this works now. Yes, okay. And this was regarding the 2-year, $48 million deal that Klay reportedly turned down. And let's hear what Joe Lacob had to say about the dollar amounts and what was basically exchanged in terms of amounts and years and all that fun stuff. So here's Joe Lacob talking about how the actual negotiations went down between Klay Thompson and the Warriors.
That was an offer in the fall, and we were in the process of developing an offer. But we really couldn't do that. He knew that without sort of seeing how a lot of different things were happening. We had a lot of things going on, Chris Paul contract. We didn't know what was going to happen with all those things. So I think it's common sense for anybody to understand that you're juggling a lot of balls and they all have to make sense. But he made the choice a little early. He made it for us, right? He made it for us. And it's not what we wanted, but it happened.
And so again, the Warriors, from what I pieced together, Degenerate Daddy in the chat saying, Joe is as surprised as the day Bob Myers resigned. That's comedy. But so what we know for pretty much fact is the Warriors offered Klay 2 years, 48. He turned them down. The Warriors then rescinded that offer. Joe did say that the final offer that they made, that there was reportedly an offer made that is more than what the Mavericks offered. He did say that. I don't know if it was on this show. I didn't get that clip, but nonetheless, yeah. So Klay just wanted something new. The reports about the Warriors telling him he has to wait, that ended up being true because the Warriors are trying to piece together, their whole financial situation with Chris Paul leaving, trying to bring in other free agents. Yeah. So nonetheless, Klay Thompson's gone. And that's really not the interesting part of this interview. I mean, it's interesting, but it's not the main reason why it piqued my interest and why I'm talking about it on the show today. I'm more interested in trades. I'm more interested in the future and the present as well, because Klay Thompson is no longer part of the present for the Warriors. He's no longer a Warrior. The Warriors did add 3 new players. They added Kyle Anderson. They added Buddy Hield. They got those 2 players in sign-in trades, using trade exemptions that they got in the Klay Thompson sign-in trade to the Mavericks. And then they used their entire mid-level exception on D'Anthony Melton. Let's hear from Joe Lacob in terms of how he feels about this new team. And I hope this is working out okay here. All right, let's take a listen.
Last year. I don't think we've ever, since I've been here, added 3 veterans, substantially positive impact veteran players to the roster all at once like that. And I think we got, pretty good value in those transactions, those pickups. So they're guys that are going to play. They are rotation players, no question about it. All at various times in their careers have been starters, and even recently. So we think those 3 guys, along adding to the roster, yes, Klay is gone. That's a negative. Chris also leaving, a negative. But I think when you take everything into account, though, adding those 3 guys makes us better. And you add that to, hopefully a year where Draymond doesn't get suspended, which I'm sure he will achieve, and add it to the fact that the young guys continued to get better last year. And we drafted very well. We had 2 guys that exceeded expectations who we drafted last year. Kuminga certainly got better. Moody, I think, didn't get quite the opportunity, but got better. So I think, and they will again. So they're very young. So we think those guys all getting better, plus the 3 guys we added. Yeah, we lost a couple guys. But I think if you look at the whole team, you'd have to say, and our models do project us to be better than last year.
What models, first of all? The odds makers, the geniuses with PhDs in statistics who set the lines in Vegas, they're projecting the Warriors over under this season to be 43.5. Last year they won 46. And so I don't know what model he's referring to. I don't know what model he's using in terms of projecting the Warriors are a better team. I will say this, and I'll say this with the utmost confidence. The Warriors will be a better team next year with this current roster if the young players take a leap, meaning Kuminga, Podziemski, Trace Jackson-Davis, and Moses Moody if he's on the team and if he actually gets an opportunity. And Joe Lacob said some interesting things about Moody, which we're going to get to in just a moment. But where I feel Joe is being a little short-sighted here and a little narrow-minded here is, let's say for the sake of argument, yeah, your team improved from your 46-win version a year ago. And this is despite the fact you lost Klay Thompson, who was your second leading scorer, averaged just shy of 18 points a game. Not to mention he helped space the floor for Steph Curry and for other teammates as well, because defenders would rarely, if ever, leave Klay Thompson alone to heave three-pointers, right? So you lost that, and you're going to be hoping Buddy Hield replaces it. Huge if, since Buddy Hield had an off year last year, shooting 38.6% from three. Buddy Hield turns 32 this year, so it's not like he's in the prime of his career. He's on the tail end of that prime and might be experiencing a regression already. But what I didn't hear in that clip from Joe is, what about the rest of the Western Conference in the NBA? Do you think that other teams aren't also making improvements? I mean, 13 of the 15 Western Conference teams next year are going to be playoff contenders. Sacramento got better. San Antonio got better. Denver did not get better, but they still have a ridiculously good team. Like maybe the Clippers kind of took a step back below the Warriors, but Memphis, they did not have Ja Morant last year. They did not have Brandon Clark last year. That's a team that already has Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. There are a lot of good teams in the West that improved. So you can be proud about your three new players, because I do think they represent an improvement from what they had a year ago. They represent more depth. You got more length. And with Kyle Anderson and to a lesser extent, Buddy Hield, even with Buddy Hield, I've never once heard him, in the same sentence as great defense. But you did lose Klay. The rest of the opposition in the West got better as well. If you're not talking about the Clippers, maybe the Lakers, maybe the Nuggets, but the Spurs also got a lot better. The Rockets are going to be better. And then here's the other part of it too, which he didn't mention, which is part of reality. Stephen Curry's a year older. Draymond Green, who a lot of the Warriors are clearly scapegoating for last year's problems, right? I mean, we've heard this a lot, right? If Draymond Green does not get suspended, if Draymond Green does not miss all these games, who knows what happens, right? But he's a year older. So you're counting on these two vital pieces, your two best players, and Steph and Trae, not regressing, turning 37 and 35 respectively. And that's why when I hear Joe say that he thinks that the Warriors are better this year, maybe on paper they're a little better, but so is almost every other team. And you're ignoring the fact that your two most important pieces are not in the age range that you want your two best players to be. They're both in their mid to late 30s. So which is why me personally, I see this team and I'm thinking to myself, no. If this is what you're finishing with, you're going to be lucky to make a play-in. I don't think they even make the play-in with this current roster. But that's just me. And we could talk about that another day. Moving on. I still thought that was fascinating, though. I'm curious to know what their models are. Now, Lacob was asked about all the Lauri Markkanen speculation, right? And he didn't address it directly. He can't address it directly because Lauri Markkanen right now is under contract with the Jazz. You've got tampering concerns if you actually go into specifics in that regard. But he did skirt around the name, and he still talked about just the idea of a trade, and clearly the context of all of this is Lauri Markkanen, right? So keep that in mind when you're listening to Joe talking about the Warriors and trades. Take a listen.
Look, we have a full roster right now. I think we're at 14 players. Mm-hmm. So anything we do now has got to be pretty much through trade. And are there trades that are being discussed all the time? Absolutely. We could make a significant trade for sure, but we might not. There are three ways to get your team better, right? The draft, which probably is the most reliable one in some respects, although highly risky and takes some time. Free agency. The Lakers have used this over the years, certainly. We've done it occasionally. That's happened now. And the third is trades. Trades is kind of the hardest way to go because there are 29 other teams all trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to get better. And everyone wants to win a trade. I know in business, you hear the term win-win. It's good to make win-win moves in life, in business, trades, business transactions. But you can't make someone do that. So it's one of these things where you have to find the right partner at the right time, and you have to sort of agree that this is going to work for both parties. And that's with all trades. I have found over our 14 years, we have not been, particularly adept at making big trades. We haven't done a lot because they're hard to do. And we're always trying. We're always going to try to make our team better. And if there were, a great player out there at the trade deadline, we were looking at some things. Might have happened, who knows? But it didn't for a variety of reasons. And we've been looking at things since the draft and free agency here, various trades. And, frankly, that isn't something that ends tomorrow or anytime in the next few weeks. Something like that for any one player could go on to the trade deadline. That's why it's called the trade deadline. So I think there are other names out there that are significant players that if they want to play for the Warriors and we felt we had the right package, we convinced the other team and the player, they're conceivable to do. We're going to keep trying.
And I do love hearing that. And this is, again, why I call Joe Lacob an awesome owner, because at least he's trying, man. At least he wants to win. And I know what I don't like hearing is we got all the way up to the trade deadline. Joe, if by some chance this gets to you, do not wait until the trade deadline to make a move. If you wait until January or February, whenever that deadline is, the Warriors could be 30 games back by that point. I mean, you could be sacrificing an entire season. I hope they don't wait until the season starts. I hope they don't wait until they start the year 5-15 before they realize, I guess we got to do something. No, you got to do something now. And whether or not that's Lauri Markkanen, whether or not that's other plan Bs out there, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton, Time Lord, Kyle Kuzma, Jared Allen, whoever that plan B is, do it sooner than later, please. Because if you wait till later, if you wait till that deadline, you're screwed. You lost the year. And I don't want to see another year of Stephen Curry's career wasted away. Also interesting to know, I don't doubt that trades are difficult to pull off in the sense that you need to have a willing partner. But Joe should know better than to use the business analogy in that every trade needs both sides to come away feeling good about it. That is where you have to apply the competitive venture capitalist mentality of eliminating the competition, taking advantage of weaker-minded individuals out there to get the most out of that situation for your own personal gain. That's business competition. If you're going to be pulling business analogies here, mention the fact that you got to be cutthroat to win. So finagle one of these other teams out there. The Warriors have not done that many trades. And this is where Bob Myers, I feel, is missed, because when they did make trades, man, oh man, was there ingenuity there. And I'm referring specifically to the Andrew Wiggins trade, where the Warriors gave up D'Angelo Russell for Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga, the number 6, the first round pick that ended up being Jonathan Kuminga. It's out there. It's possible. No one's saying it's easy, but it's not impossible either. Now, there are a few more clips here I want to mention. Speaking of trades, Joe Lacob did say that the Warriors would go all in on a blockbuster trade if the right offer presented itself. And again, man, for all of Joe Lacob's flaws, I love the fact that he cares. And the dude does care. The dude wants to win. Here's Joe Lacob talking about the possibility of a blockbuster trade and what would be involved in that trade. Let's hear what he had to say.
Our fans expect us to be good, not just really good, not just this year, but in future years as well. So it's a balance. I think we have to balance. We would do it. We would send all kinds of picks in a particular trade or players if we felt we were getting back something that was really great and that made sense, and they got someone that was the right age and the right cultural fit, and and also fit within the construct of the team. It's possible, but I will consider, and we will consider anything, and have considered all of these options. But I think you're missing the real point, and I know what you're alluding to. But you have to have two parties that are reasonably willing to do deals together that make sense for both sides in order for things to happen. It just can't be something where, you can make this happen and it's automatic. It doesn't automatically happen. It doesn't work that way. You have to have a willing party on the other end for any kind of a trade discussion. That's why they're so hard to do.
Sorry about that. And you hear a little bitterness in Joe's voice, and I think that comes largely from his experience dealing with the Clippers. I don't think that was fun. I think they thought they had Paul George in the bag, and then the Clippers, who knows what went behind that thinking. Again, I don't buy the notion that the Clippers refuse to pull the trigger because, oh no, it's the big bad Warriors, we can't help them. No, come on. What the reality is, if the Clippers had signed off on that deal, they're a second apron team again. They would be spending more money in that process. They just didn't want to take in cash anymore, and you can't blame them. And who knows how far that those trade discussions went. But Joe was clearly bitter with the Clippers. Donald Williams in the chat real fast mentions that YouTube keeps unscribing you. That's the first I've ever heard of that. I have no control over over subscriptions with YouTube. So I hope that issue is something where you can resolve that. I wish I could help in that situation. But if I hear a lot of people bringing it up, I'll certainly make a complaint to YouTube because that's my livelihood. But I'm sorry you're experiencing that, and I wish there was some way you could help, but I can't. And then Dr. J30, I do like the reference of cultural fit, especially when we talk about Draymond Green as the puncher who doesn't get punished. Good point. Han Solo Dolo, we're gonna have to agree to disagree about your reference to Podziemski and Kuminga being easily replaced with Pat Spencer and Daquan Plowden. Let's slow down a little bit there. There's a reason why both those guys are two-way players. Let's slow down on that. I can't say that's an accurate comparison of two players. What you're arguing for basically is trade Kuminga, trade Podziemski, get Lauri Markkanen, because those two players can be replaced with Pat Spencer and Daquan Plowden. Slow the roll a little bit. Let's hit the brakes and see Pat Spencer and Daquan Plowden actually get NBA minutes, and let's see how they do with those minutes before we jump to that conclusion. I want to see if there's anything else in the chat that I should address before we move on. All right, so Joe Lacob, and I absolutely love his sentimentality when it comes to the youngsters. First up, Jonathan Kuminga. Here is how Joe Lacob feels about Jonathan Kuminga. Oh, I thought I'd stop sharing my screen. Okay. So we'll get right to it. Here is Joe Lacob about the Warriors prize youngster.
I'm a big believer in Jonathan Kuminga. I mean, everyone knows I'm a big JK fan. So is our basketball operations group, Mike and Kirk and those guys. And by the way, so are our coaches. I know people think sometimes that's not true, but that is true. And he's working really hard this summer. The reports are making great progress. He had a big step last year. We expect him to have another big step this year. I expect him to be a Warrior for a long time.
So what I thought was interesting about that is him emphasizing the point that Kuminga also has the faith of the coaches. Maybe that's true, but I don't know if Steve Kerr's one of those guys. There's a lot of coaches on that staff. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's going to be evident by how much of a run Kuminga gets this year. And I feel like if Joe Lacob truly believed what he just said, he would not be making appearances at post-game press conferences on games immediately after Kuminga being benched for inexplicable reasons. Anyways, he also talked about Podziemski, and who he also values. And he also brought up the fact, and this is probably my favorite soundbite from this whole interview. And the reason why is because he let us take a little peek into the brain of Joe Lacob. And you'll see what I mean, and I'll explain in just a minute. But here is Joe Lacob talking about Podziemski, Moses Moody, and the youngsters in general, and how other teams routinely reach out to trade for them, and how much the Warriors love them. Let's hear from Joe.
Potential. Well, he's only had 1 year. He's 21 years old, and he's had 1 year in the league. Now, that was a pretty successful rookie campaign. First team all league rookie. Some pretty darn good numbers. Really good defense. I mean, just a really capable player. Works really hard. Great cultural fit with our organization. I mean, we're extremely high. And by the way, so are a lot of other teams that are interested. You know, we get a lot of calls on both him and JK, and we do on Moses as well, by the way. So, you know, we get calls on these guys. They're good. People think they're good, really good. And they're getting better, and they're young. And so I do believe that if you talk about Pods in particular, I said it at the Summer League, I think he has the potential to be an all-star in this league. And I absolutely believe it. And so does everyone in our organization. I think that JK is in the same boat. He has the potential to be an all-star in this league, the potential. Well, he's...
Whoops, sorry. Okay, so that was not the clip I was talking about, because there's one that I guess we haven't gotten to yet where he talks about Moses Moody, and I thought was fascinating. So that was not it. This next clip might be it. We got two more. And in this one, Joe Lacob says anyone on the team besides one, maybe two players could be traded if it means improvement. Let's take a listen to Joe Lacob.
Everyone can be traded. Anyone and everyone. If it means that we're going to be, better as an organization, we're going to acquire someone that just really makes sense going forward, and we felt the deal was fair and it was something we should do. There probably isn't anyone on this team other than maybe one guy, maybe two, that couldn't be traded. It's possible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not. So, but I do not anticipate that these guys are going anywhere. I anticipate that they're going to be with us and help build our organization. Again,
you mentioned
significant that we cannot turn down comes along.
Did I ever play the Moody clip? There was one. I'm going to kick myself if I only miss one clip, and it's the one that I thought was most important. Did I already play it? Maybe I did. But Lacob said in one of these clips that despite how the coaching staff views it, he still thinks Moses Moody is phenomenal value. And now I'm really mad at myself that either I did not get that clip or I didn't play it. Damn it. Oh, well. Anyways, one last clip to play. And this one has to do with a potential contract extension for Stephen Curry. Curry's eligible for a 1-year contract extension. And Joe had some thoughts on that. Why don't we listen to Uncle Joe, a.k.a. the owner of the Golden State Warriors?
We have not discussed it. He's busy right now, and he should stay busy focused on that with the Olympics. But if he wants to talk about that, that's up to him. If he wants to talk about that this summer, he's not said that at all. But if he wants to, we'll certainly entertain that discussion. I would not anticipate. Let's put it this way: Steph Curry, I fully anticipate will be a Warrior for life. I thought Klay was going to be too, but I was wrong. But I think Steph has been what he's been to this franchise is tremendous. It's every intention of ours to see him play as long as he wants to play, and as long as he is able to play it at the level that he's continued to play. And he's in incredible shape, so I have no reason to believe that he couldn't play quite a bit longer. Maybe he's Tom Brady.
He's Tom Brady. He's Tom Brady. Now, what I thought was very interesting in that clip, and I hope you folks enjoyed that, a little window into Joe Lacob's thinking, is that Steph hasn't approached the Warriors about it. And this feeds into, again, what a very trusted source has told me, that there is a very strong possibility these last 2 years are it for Stephen Curry, that he may retire. He turns 37 this year. Next year, he's going to turn 38. Now, you heard Joe Lacob bring up Tom Brady, and could Steph be a Tom Brady type? Yes. Does Steph want to be a Tom Brady type? That's the question that I don't think any of us outside of Stephen Curry's most inner circle have a clue about. And regardless, all I can ask for is, for whatever time we have left with Steph, give him a shot. That's all I'm asking for. You have one of the greatest players in the history of the game on your team, still at the peak of his powers. He deserves every piece of love and accolade he gets because he's such a positive guy. I've never seen a professional athlete, or maybe individual, embody living in the moment more than Stephen Curry. I feel like the only time he dwells on the past is negative comments about him that he uses as fuel for on-court play. Otherwise, that guy is always in the moment, which is one of the healthiest ways to live. And I just hope they surround him with talent. And anyways, thank you, everyone. Tomorrow on the show, Sam Gordon of the San Francisco Chronicles is going to join me. I don't know what time yet we're going to do that interview. Friday, I don't know yet who's going to come on. I've talked to a couple people, but important to note, Saturday morning, immediately following Team USA's next game, I've got Mark Haynes joining the program. He covers mostly the Kings, but he did cover the Warriors for a long time. He's Chris Haynes' brother of TNT and so forth. So Mark's going to join me on the show Saturday, immediately following Team USA's next group play, the final game in group competition in the Olympics before they start getting to the single elimination battles. Looking forward to that. Otherwise, yeah, thanks everyone, and hope you have a great rest of the day. And we will be back at this soon. Again, tomorrow, Sam Gordon and yours truly. Thanks, everyone. And until then, subscribe, please, because that stuff matters. Hit the like button, please. People tell me that helps with the algorithm. And have a great day. Find happiness out there. That's the goal, right? Bye-bye.